Hello ladies and gentlemen, and today, in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to maximize Dori's Kit to the fullest potential. And mainly, I'm going to highlight Hyperbloom team comps. And without further ado, let us begin. So by now, everybody will have recognized that Dori's unique selling point is her burst. It offers an energy regeneration and also continuous healing. And this will proc every 2 seconds. With a length of about 11 Unagis long, or in some aspect, the width of Divalin's talent. And on top of that, her Constellation 4 further improved her healing and energy generation capability to the single target that she can do so. And if you're wondering if her burst can heal your co-op friends, it absolutely will, so don't have to worry about that. Not to mention, her burst actually gives you an electro aura, which you can use it in conjunction with Banner to do something like this. Since we are at the topic of a burst capability, I do have to mention something about energy regeneration for the single target she can do so. At talent level 8, if you were to compare it with Cibolo Elemental Particles, it's equal to 0.7 particles per 2 seconds, which is pretty good considering that you will want to use Dori in a team where your main DPS is a different element than her, namely like Eula, Ito, and Ayato. There's more, but ideally that is the case for all kinds of DPS out there. Of course, this energy value will decrease with higher energy recharge based on your characters. The good thing is, both of these issues can be reduced with Favonia's Great Sword. The bad thing though, you had to own it in the first place. So for now, I will just stick to craftable weapons. And one more important thing that you need to take note is that among all elements, only Electro has a lot of all-field energy generator. For Pyro, there's really only Xiangling. For Hydro, there's Kokomi. For Geo, there's Albedo and Zhongli. But for the rest of the element, there really isn't much. So with all that said, that actually makes Dori the only character that you don't have to hit the targets to trigger her energy regeneration with only one problem. You have to be within the range of the lamp, which if you happen to miss that interval, you will lose that healing and energy. That makes positioning extra important with Dori's team. And of course, you might have already recognized that Dori's burst has a unique 3-second internal cooldown. But because of how fast she can attack with her burst, we can do something fun. We have more control over which Dendro calls to trigger, which reduced wasting calls beyond the 2 reaction limits per half a second. We said all the good things about her burst, so what is the downside? Is it her high burst cost? It is actually solved by her Ascension 4 passive, so we don't have to worry about that. So that actually leaves us with one more thing. 8-second downtime. What can we do about it? To answer that, I think I will show you a rotation showcase for your reference. As you can see, the rotation kind of worked just fine, so it's not really a deal breaker. You just have to adjust your team rotation accordingly to the situation. I think this is a nice way to introduce you guys to the Hyperbloom teams that Dori best suited with, which is this current team right here. The main idea of this team is to have a strong Hydro Replicator like Ayato, but ideally also have a wide range of aerial effect, plus 2 Dendro characters, which you can see from this video, and you'll be good to go. I would just say that if you were to use other characters, there might be some other restriction like positioning to be extra careful. Other than that, this is how a Hyperbloom team with Dori can perform. The best part about that showcase, Dori isn't at her full potential just yet. She could have been using a 4-piece Gilded Dreams with full elemental mastery, then you're probably gonna see a better result. And I don't have that because it's really hard to get Elemental Mastery. So I make do with the Strong Box and get Thundering Fury. So still, that's pretty good. But when I review the showcase, I don't need the 4-piece Thundering Fury effect. So it's up to you to also review your gameplay to see that if you need to use a 4-piece Thundering Fury instead. And the weapon options, if I have Favonius, obviously it's going to be way better. But for now, the craftable weapon is actually more reliable in some sense. Guaranteed energy regeneration for her, so she wouldn't have any energy issues. Just that your ally will have some issues. Since we are at it, might as well we review her Constellation. C1, as you know, fire extra shots, so more instance of electro application / damage. C2 fires off an homing rocket, as I see from all the footage, but the footage is a bit too blurred for me to show it here. And it does have a weird requirements that it requires you to be healed in the first place, so I can see it's used if you are under heavy attack, but beyond that it's gonna be quite difficult to do that. And it actually scale up with Dori's attack, but I do wish this one actually just do a small pulse of area of effect on your character position so that it can be well used for Hyperbloom team comps as well. So that's just a thought. Her Constellation 4 basically increase your energy efficiency and your healing efficiency as well. While you may say, hey, 50% criteria is a bit strict or what, it is, but I do see some use to it. When after you use Dori's burst and you rotate to other characters, you basically get yourself a free 30% energy recharge to help you funnel way more efficient energy into your burst. So that can be a good thing. Then we got her C6, which basically changed her from a single target healer to an on-field full party member healer, which is pretty good. And with the electro infusion, she can basically apply a lot more electro application than normal, which is a huge thing to consider. Then her gameplay would, I think with this you can actually change her into an aggravate team comp, since that she can proc a lot more reliably, and couple that with 4-piece Stunning Fury, you can just get yourself an insane E-skill spam festa. That's just a thought. And that's it for Constellation review. So with that said, I think I need to cover her Dendro characters as well. As you can see, my Dendro main character is at C0. I think by now you guys might have already reached at least C2 or more, but that just meant that you're going to have a better experience than I did. Not to mention, their talent is at level 1, same goes for Cole and the Constellation 2. But the artifact options though, since you are using 2 Dendro, one of them can actually use the instructor set instead. But your main focus is just going to be energy recharge and crit rate, just so that they can proc off the Favonius weapon effect. Same for the Dendro main character. And not to mention, if you find yourself having some energy issues to use their burst, which is their main highlight, then you will want to change off the artifact and go into the Exile set instead. Which is a nice trade-off considering that you are valuing consistency over the Elemental Mastery boost. As for the Dendro main character, same focus with the energy recharge and crit rate is sufficient, but if you find yourself having excessive energy, you can always change this down into an attack main piece so that you can do a little bit more damage. Other than that, that is it for the Hyperbloom team comps. So with that said, that's all I have. So thanks you for watching, and the next video would probably be about Candace. If you have any topics that you think that you want me to cover, please do let me know and we will see about that in the next time. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your evening and goodbye. And these are their stats for Cole, Dori, and for the Dendro Traveler.